Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I wanted to start out with the stats as usual, and this is from June 2nd to June 8th, so we're always about a week behind. But basically, the sales of single-family homes were at 441, down from 530 the week before. Now, the 530 the week before really isn't something that we can talk about or shouldn't anything to be concerned about, I guess, is what the bottom line is, because that is the end of the month, and there's always more sales at the end of the month. That last week, for some reason, everybody wants to get it done at that point in time, so there's always more then. The median price of a single-family home is at $445, which is down quite a bit from, well, not too much, just down 1% from the week before. So $445 is where the median price was, this week. And the inventory increased by another 104, and so that's at 6,602. So looking at that 441, how they shake down, under 250, there were 34 of them. Between 250 and 300, there were 29. 300 between 112 between 300 and 400, 94 between 400 and 500, 149 between 500 and a million, and then 23 over a million. So when we're looking at the list to ask price, that overall we are at 97.66. Then under 250, we're at 94.43. Then we go to 97.09 from 250 to 300. Then we go to 98.32, 98.19, 98.39. And then over a million is where it dips again at 94.7. So pretty much right across the board the way that it usually is. Nothing odd there. And then the months of inventory, we're sitting at 3.46. Under 250, it's at 2.23. 2.49 between 250 and 300, 2.54 between 300 and 400, 3.37 between 400 and 500, 3.98 between 500 and a million, and 7.88 over a million. So in that over a million, we are definitely in a normal market, and we're heading that and everything else. So there's still houses selling. So I have people all the time, that are telling me that, hey, I think that the market's going to crash and the prices are going to go down. And honestly, we haven't seen that. What we've seen is that the prices really have stayed pretty consistent. They've gone up a little bit instead of going down. And basically the number of houses has kind of stayed pretty consistent and that kind of thing too. At the height of the market, which was before the interest rates rose, there were more houses selling, but not significantly. And so really there's the right amount of houses selling for the people that want to buy, for the most part, when you look at everything. So we're in a really good spot when it comes to that for Central Florida. And so you just got to make sure that, you know what you're talking about when you're looking at that. So that was single family homes. Now we're looking at the condos, townhomes, and villas. And there were 108 this week versus 123 the week before. So down a little bit. Again, that was the end of the month. And the median price of a single of the condos, townhomes, and villas went up to $297. So that's up significantly, 4.2% for the week. So they've been going up quite a bit because they were at like $250 maybe a year ago. And now 1 week's at $297, then the week before that's at like $275, and then it's like $297. So they're trending up. So they're going up and down from week to week, but they're definitely on that trend up in regards to what's going on with them. And that inventory also increased by 84 and is now at 3286. So when you're looking at across the board and what's going on in them, of the 108 under 250, there were 38. Now, again, used to be that over 50% of the condos, townhomes, and villas that sold were under 250. Now it's about a third. Between 250 and 300, there were 19. 30 between 300 and 400. 11 between 400 and 500. 8 between 500 and a million, and 2 of them over a million. So when you're looking at the list to ask price here, we're at 97.4 overall. They kind of mirror the houses that the under 250 were at 95.55, so a little lower than the rest of them. Then you're at 97.95, 97.41, 96.97, 99.22, and 98.59, actually over a million. So that over a million condo is really kind of interesting because with 2 of them selling this week, we only have 2 months of inventory there, whereas overall we've got 7 months of inventory at 6.89 under 250, 5.87 250 to 300, 6.62 300 to 400, 9.57 400 to 500, 9.61 on 500 to a million, and then only 2.08 when it comes to over a million. So pretty interesting. So usually there's not always a condo that sells over a million. 2 of them sold this week, but there's only 18 on the market. And that's where you get to, the 2 months of inventory. But we'll go some weeks where we won't have anything selling over a million, which I believe that's what happened last week. So basically, when it comes down to it, we want to make sure that we're looking at apples to oranges and all that kind of good stuff. So really, week to week, it gives us a good idea in the trends because we're looking at what's going back and forth and what's happening. But a month gives us a better view in regards to what's going on and comparing that to a year before and everything. But as I've been saying for the last couple of years, our market is pretty stable. The number of houses that are selling is pretty consistent. The prices are going up gradually, which is what we like to see them do. And I don't like to see the big swings because the big swings do indicate that something could be heading down. And, if you're looking around Central Florida, you definitely see the growth. And so that's another thing that definitely adds to the picture there in regards to what's going on and what you think is happening out there and all of that kind of good stuff. So basically, when you're looking at Central Florida and what's happening in our housing market, we've got a pretty stable market. And so, like I said, that's my favorite market for us to have, that it's going up, but it's healthy. It's not going up really quickly. It's just going up very steadily. And when you're talking about the interest rates, I had a few people ask me this week what's going on with the interest rates. And they're hovering in that high 6s, low 7s. It changes on a daily basis. But that, for the most part, is where it's at. There are some houses out there that you can definitely assume the loan. And so that's something that you can look at as well. We have a deal right now that we're in the middle of that they are assuming the loan on the property. The previous buyer or previous seller or the seller has the loan. Their loan is at 2.99% on $275,000 of the $455,000 purchase price. So the buyer is going to be getting a new loan for $100,000. They're bringing $100,000 to the table, and then they're going to assume the 2.99 on the rest of it. So it's they're going to end up with a pretty good blend. They can pay off that $100,000 first, that second loan that they're going to have, and still have that 2.99 for a period of time. So it's an FHA loan, so it does have some some additional fees to it and that kind of thing, but it's actually a pretty good deal. So there are those deals out there, whether it's an FHA or a VA. I've got another one coming on the market that's a VA that they said that they have a great rate that can be, that same thing can happen as well. So if you're interested in that, just give us a call. But you can reach us at 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I really thought was, I mean, I agree 100% with it, but I saw this article this week and I thought it would be worth talking about, that it was the dangers of overpricing a home. And like I tell all the sellers that I meet with, when a couple of years ago, it really wasn't as important what you put your house on the market for, because the market was so hot that you could get multiple offers above asking, even if you went like 5% higher than what the comps were in the neighborhood, and you could generally get it. So when you were representing the seller, just a couple of years ago. I mean, you would think that, oh, wow, that would be awesome. And it was. But at the same time, it was not as easy as it sounds either, because, there would be a lot of people that you would have to sift and sort through to see what the best deal was, for the seller. So regardless of the market, there's always something that you have to beware of. It's never a cakewalk. And so that was a cakewalk, that there were a lot of people out there looking, but who were the ones to choose that were not going to be concerned about the appraisal? Because that was so important back then, that the appraisals would all come in low. So who had the means in the first place that could actually purchase a property that was above, the asking price and above the appraisal price? And so that was, a concern for a lot of buyers at that time too. So they were having a tough time actually, getting into a house if you're getting financing and you didn't have a lot of cash outside of it. There were no seller concessions, a couple of years ago, which today there are much more availability for that. We just closed a house a month or so ago that they actually got 6% from the seller. They actually went a little bit below asking price and still got 6% from the seller. So they got an awesome deal. And so it ended up being a great deal, for that buyer. But honestly, in all honesty, they couldn't have afforded the home if the seller wasn't willing to do that, which is why the seller did do it. They had it sitting on the market for quite a while and they weren't getting any activity. And so they were kind of getting to that point where they really needed to decide what they were going to do. They had moved on from the house. So they were kind of in that position going, what are we going to do now? And so our buyer came along and needed a little bit less than what they were looking for, but ended up being a win-win situation, for them as time goes on. Now, what actually happened in that house is during the inspection, which is another reason why I always encourage people to get an inspection, is that we did run into some challenges with the AC that it was operating, and the house had been vacant, but there was some mold around there, and it was an FHA loan, which is a Federal Housing Authority loan, and they do an inspection, and they saw that, and so that had to be corrected before the loan could be approved. So, and with that, if they even found a new buyer, then they would probably run into that situation again, the seller would. So they did, fix that, and the agent told me that they ended up spending several $1,000s to fix that. So, you're going to have those types of situations and all of that as well. And there's ways that you can avoid that. And one of them is with our certified pre-owned home. So up front if there's anything that you need to be concerned about and that you can resolve it even before it happens. And so we definitely like that and like to look at situations like that to make sure that we're ahead of the game as opposed to behind the game. But I started all that out just to say that the dangers of overpricing a home, and that is the situation in today's market. If, when I'm working with the seller and I'm telling them this is the value, then we go ahead and we list it at that. And I do a lot of research and show them, why it is what it is. And, they come to that conclusion more than likely because when we're looking at it, that's basically the way that it is. But when we do that, what I find is that we do sell that property pretty quickly. We usually get multiple offers on it. We usually get above asking price. So we are getting the best that we could absolutely get, for that particular home and everything. And so it is a win-win situation when it comes down to it. And, I just recently closed one on that, and the seller did have two offers. One of them was $10,000 above asking, and the other one was $5,000 below asking, and they went with the one that was below because it was cash and it was closed in 2 weeks. And so that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to get their cash out of it as quick as they could. And so they were willing to take that $15,000 hit in order to get that, to get it closed right away. So it doesn't always come down to money when it comes to a seller. They're looking for different things out there. And as a buyer, you have to keep that in mind. And the only way to really find that out is to ask the questions. What is going to be most advantageous, to the seller. So we do have a lender that basically we can close in 15 days. And so even with financing, they would be able to get that done on a quick basis. So if you're in that situation and you're thinking, well, I'm getting a loan, so I'm not going to be able to do that. No, don't worry. We do have lenders that can get it done in 15 days. And so, I did have a situation this week that we were working with a buyer, and they were purchasing a home, and the home is actually supposed to be foreclosed on at the end of this month. So basically, in order to get the deal done, with the financing, to make sure that that house didn't get sold on the courthouse steps, if the bank wasn't going to cooperate with us, we needed to make sure that we could get that loan closed sooner rather than later. And so that's what we were actually working on, and we're able to, get that deal done. But, when I talked to the lender, they said, yes, we can get it done in 15 days, but if we had that extra 2 or 3 days for a cushion, that would be good. And I said, well, we need to do that in this situation because we can't have it go into for sale on the courthouse steps, and we need to be extremely honest with the bank for them to pull the sale and everything to know that this deal is going to close, because they weren't going to want to wait on it. So we were able to get, all of those things done. So basically, when you're looking at it, there's all kinds of different scenarios. You might think, well, my house isn't that way, or I'm not going to run into that situation. Well, you might not, but you're going to run into another situation probably, because there's always something that seems to come up in that process. And so you don't want to, underprice your home. So basically I was talking again about not overpricing your home. So pricing it correctly is the first thing that you want to do. The next thing that you want to do is that you want to make sure that if you do overprice your home, what the repercussions of that are. And today, when I was talking about the months of inventory and everything that we have out there, what happens is that buyers have choices. So I do have another house on the market, and basically the sellers are not willing to go at market price at this point. They're higher than that. And so as a result of that, the showings are kind of few and far between. First of all, we've got a lot of people that have saved it, but they're just waiting for that price to go down. And a lot of sellers think, well, they'll make an offer anyway, and they won't. And we had somebody that was almost going to make an offer this week. And so we made an offer to them, which is one of the things that we do as a reverse offer system. But even with that, they decided to go with another house. And so once they've decided to do that and they've got their heart set elsewhere, getting them back in there and telling them that you've got a price reduction and all that kind of good stuff is not something that they're necessarily, going to find. And something that was very interesting, and this was a study that was done by Zillow, and what they found in the U.S. as a whole, homes that sold more or less as soon as they hit the market had sales prices that were only 1% below the list prices, while homes on the market for about 2 months sold 5% below. And homes listed for the longest amount of time, 11 months on average, fared worse, selling 12% below the list price. So basically the bottom line is that it's going to go there anyway. So you might as well start out with that, and then you're going to have the best situation for yourself. But I've got another thought for you as well that I'll talk about in the next segment. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I was talking the last segment about pricing your home right and how important that is and everything. And basically, I just can't emphasize that enough. I had another experience earlier this year with some people that I had told them basically that I thought that their house would sell at this price, and and the house that I thought, and the price that I thought it would sell it for, and this was a townhouse, and so I told them that I thought that it would sell for right around 200,000. It was actually going to be between 190 and 200. Well, they wanted to price it at 240. So basically, the bottom line is, guess what happened? It just sat on the market. And then they decided that they were going to rent it out. And then they decided, no, I think we're going to sell it, and that kind of thing. And so I was just looking at it yesterday. And basically, the bottom line is it's still not sold. There's still 227,000 is where they're at right now, is where they're trying to sell it. And they wonder why it's not selling. And it's like there are other properties in that community that have redone the properties just like they have. And they're selling at 180, 190. And so basically, with that going on, and those other properties are updated and everything as well, the market's not going to bear that. If you're looking for an investor and what they're going to do, I mean, they're looking actually for the best deal that they can get, and they're going to rent it out. So they're going to be looking at the cash flow. But if they can buy that same unit somewhere else in that community and get it for, for 30 or 40,000 less, then they're obviously going to do that. And with the inventory being as it is right now, people do have those kinds of choices. And so that's why the market price is so critical. Now, I was telling you, and I've talked a little bit about this, but I've just found more and more out about this cash offer platform that we have. So we have this awesome cash offer platform that is only available through Your Home Sold. And basically, we have over 60 investors, and pretty soon we're going to be able to put all of the local investors on there as well, which I'm really excited about, because that will give, our local investors the ability to make offers on these properties just as well as the big hedge funds and everything like that. But I was on a webinar this week with the company that does these cash offers, and they were going through some case studies in regards to what has happened with them. So what this company basically does is that they're looking to take 6% is what they're doing. So I just mentioned in the last segment, or maybe it was this segment, I can't remember, that if your house sits on the market too long, you're going to be 12% below the market price, or below the listed price, is what it's going to end up being if you don't price it right. And this is across all price points, okay? Because a lot of times there's people looking, for that real expensive home. There's people looking for that fixer-upper or whatever. But with this this program that we have here, you don't leave money on the table, and it's actually the way that they're working. And one of the terms that he used, which totally describes it very well, is that if you've got a fixer-upper property of your own, that you can go through this, get the majority of your proceeds out of it now, and then this company will take it over, and then they'll resell it. They'll fix it up and resell it, but they're only taking 6%. So with some other companies that come in and buy your home today, if the value ends up, they sell it. I had a house that I sold to one of the companies that we ended up selling it to one of the companies that advertises on TV and everything all the time. And that was because the buyer's financing fell apart at the last minute. The people were buying a new home construction. They were going to lose their deposit there and lose that house. And it was just a mess. And so we scrambled, sold it to this company. They came in, they fixed it up. They fixed up, spending maybe $20,000 on putting in new cabinets or new countertops, new flooring throughout, painted the place. The place looked like $1,000,000, completely different than what it did before. And then that company walked away with, another 20 to 30% of the profits, of the value of the house in profits is what they walked away with. So it ended up being a really, good deal for that company. And, the people that sold the house, they ended up okay. But if this system that I've got that I'm going to tell you about right now existed then, they would have ended up so much better. Because this company, regardless of what happens and everything like that, they just take 6%. That's it. So anything above 6% goes back to the seller. So they'll come in, they'll make it look like $1,000,000, and they have properties that they've done this on that the seller has walked away with an extra 100,000, 175,000, that they didn't expect or didn't know that they were going to, because this company came in and did it. There was, none of those situations that those examples are in Florida, because we're new in Florida with this company. But, I've asked them, let's see the testimonials of these houses. These were houses that were on the market. They were not going anywhere. They had been sitting out there for 5 or 6 months. And so what happened then is that these people came in, gave the seller about 80 to 90% of their, equity that that right now they actually didn't own the house anymore, but there was a contingency fund. So then this company came in, fixed up a couple of little things on the house that everybody agreed to. The seller agreed to it. The investment firm agreed to it, that this would be a good thing to do. And so then when they went and sold it, they sold it for, like I said, over 100. One of them was 150. Another one was more than what they had it listed for before they fixed it up. So really, this program gives sellers the opportunity to actually sell their home now, take the equity out, go buy something else, have somebody fix it up, and then they make the benefit of the fixer-upper without any of the work, without any of the responsibility or anything like that. So it is an awesome program. So that's one of the investors on our cash offer program. So I was just so impressed with that. And I've been working with other realtors that have properties out there that have been on the market. So even if your property is listed with another agent, all you have to do is have that agent call me. They'll still be protected. They'll still get their fee and everything like that. But basically, the bottom line is that you, the seller, are not leaving money on the table. You're not going to be frustrated. You're going to get everything that you wanted and then some. And it's going to cost you an extra 6%. So in the big scheme of things, it's a much better deal than leaving it sit on the market where it's at and the way that it's at. And so I just thought that was that it's a great thing that we have. So we're innovative in always looking at that. So that's one of the 62 investors that we have out there. So we just have lots of opportunities out there for, for sellers that give you more certainty. And that's what we're really all about right now, is making sure that you are certain in regards to, what's going on with you, what's happening out there, what's happening in the market, and what can happen, for you. And so, it's really a great program. I was talking to another agent earlier this week that we had told them about this particular type of offer. And the reason that the house that they have on the market right now is not selling is it's priced just a little higher than the rest of the neighborhood. But the thing that people that are looking at it are not going to see right off the bat is that it has 75,000 worth of solar panels on that house. So the new buyer is going to make the benefit of that 75,000 for an extra $10,000 of of purchase power. And so, there's a lot of things out there that might not be, might not be evident right away, but they're out there. And so there's a lot of great situations out there that this program might work for. So if it happens to be you, then just give us a call. Even if you're listed with somebody else, we can still help you. And I love that. It's just a win-win situation all the way around. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I wanted to talk about today as well is, renovations after buying. And even some new homes might need renovations. I sold a new home recently, and the person actually went ahead and built it from the ground up. So there wasn't any inventory homes that they bought. So we didn't know what was going to happen with the interest rate and where they were going to be, and they were concerned about it because they didn't want to throw. So we got the builder to give us, I think it was $25,000 in money that they could use for upgrades, or they can use it for closing costs, or they could use it for whatever. So he wanted to be very conservative in regards to what he did to upgrade the property with the builder, because he wanted to stick pretty much to that budget, because he wanted to have that money left over in order to do something with the interest rate if he needed to make sure that he was going to qualify. Because, when you're building a house like that, you do have to put a substantial down payment. And if for some reason you can't close, it's gone. So we wanted to make sure that he was definitely going to be able to close. So what he did is, like, instead of putting tile throughout all the wet areas and that kind of stuff, he stuck to carpet, because he knew that, that was going to save him $5,000 right now. And that $5,000, whether he was going to be able to close or not close, could have been an issue. And so, he did do some things that were really simple, like putting crown molding around the cabinets to take them to the ceiling. That was only $750. So he did do that. And so there were a couple things that he wanted to do that were not very much money, that just made sense to do it with the builder. And then, when it came to the carpet, the carpet, it's not like he didn't like carpet. It was something that he could live with for a couple of years, and then he could put in the kind of flooring that he wanted and everything, or maybe it's 5 years or whatever. But basically, when you look at renovations after buying, sometimes you're going to do the renovations before you even move in. And there's a lot of people that do that. That they're actually looking at it and they're going, okay, before I even step foot in this house, I want to make sure that I do X, X, and X. And maybe that's remodel the kitchen, a bathroom, maybe it's the flooring, maybe it's painting, but there might be something that you're going to do that you've budgeted for and you've planned for and everything like that. But the first thing that you want to look at is if it's a financial challenge. And a lot of times, if you're going to sell a house within a year of when you bought it, like if you would have bought a house last year and you're going to sell it this year, there's not a lot of room basically in it. The market has gone up a little bit, but not enough that you're going to get all of your money back out of it, potentially, that you put into it after just 1 year, because you do have closing costs when you go to sell it. You have closing costs when you bought it. And so, it usually takes a couple of years for you to be able to walk away, whole and then some. So real estate is generally a long-term play and everything. Now, the average renter stays in a property over 21 months. So that's almost 2 years right there. So outside of any unforeseen circumstances, most people are going to stay in their home a couple, 3 years. And actually, the average is going up. And it used to be about 7 or 8 years. Now it's closer to 10 or 12 years. I don't remember exactly what the figures are. But, if you're in a property, 10 to 12 years, you're probably going to have a nice increase in regards to, what's going on. But when you're looking at renovations, these might be some of the reasons for them. And if you did buy a fixer-upper, which people do that they buy that fixer-upper and then they, renovate it as they're living in it. And then once they've got it renovated, they move on to something else because they're getting their profit out of it that way. So that might be one reason for renovation is improved home value. And so it can significantly boost the market value, like I was talking about in the last segment with this cash and sell program that we have, that you get cash and then they resell it and then you get more cash. And if it sells for more than what they anticipated, you still get that benefit from that. So it's not a bad deal at all. So increased home value is one thing that you would want to do. Next thing might be improved functionality and efficiency. Updating your home can improve its functionality, making it more comfortable and efficient. For example, expanding the living space, upgrading heating and cooling systems, installing smart technologies, and all of those kinds of things can enhance your living experience and reduce energy costs as well. The next reason for renovation is personalization. And there are a lot of people that do that personalization. And, when I see those, there's some houses that you might think, oh my gosh, they way over personalized it. And sometimes, they do. I mean, I remember one house that I showed one time, and it was in a very nice neighborhood and everything. And in this living room, you felt like you were in a circus tent, because the way that they had set it up. I mean, basically, it actually had like all of the, it had like the way it was painted on the ceiling. It looked like it was a tent, and it was all coming out from the middle, and it had the stripes and everything like that. And so that might be something that doesn't appeal to a lot of people. Sometimes bold colors don't appeal to everybody. There was one lady that I met with, and she was an artist. She had a ton of blown glass, and that was all over her walls and all over everything. And it was the light fixtures and all of that, and a lot of that stuff that she wanted to take with her. So, she was going to need to depersonalize it from that standpoint, because she wasn't planning on selling it that way either. And she knew that that would be something that everybody wouldn't like. So it was going to be a very unique buyer that would potentially purchase that. Another reason for renovation would be maintenance and repairs. Over time, every house requires a little maintenance and repairs. And when you catch them early and do things with them early, it's not a big deal. It's just something that you could do. Enhancing energy efficiency. It can be an excellent opportunity to make a home more energy efficient through upgrades like insulation, solar panels, and energy efficient appliances, leading to long-term savings and utility bills. Then again, would be lifestyle changes, would be another reason, like your family grew or something like that. So there might be some common thread there that would be an interesting thing that you would want to do in order to, do the renovations. But the thing is that I think is most important, and I feel like houses should be lived in the way that you want to live in them. That's why you purchased it in the first place, so you could do what you wanted to do and live the way that you wanted to live. And so, everybody is unique and everybody has their own personal slant on it. But when you go to sell it, there's a certain way that's going to make it a little bit better to appeal to more people. And that's basically what the bottom line is. But, the thing is that we love to help people in regardless of whatever position you're in and whatever you want to do. And that's basically what the bottom line is in how we operate and what we do. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we will see you next week. Have a great one, everybody, and happy Father's Day. It's Father's Day today. Bye-bye.